Hey, and welcome to this super quick and somewhat simple content audit. This is really, really important before you go and spend a ton of time on writing content and getting frustrated with why you're not ever seeing it end up in the search engines. I wanted to put together something that made that kind of click for you. So as a business owner, we wear a lot of hats, but some of these things you can handle on your own, or at least be able to delegate more clearly and have a better understanding of why you're running against these issues. Now, I had this client come to me and he said, "Hey, here's my site. Here's a couple other sites that are outranking me. What do I got to do?" This is a very stressful situation. And the first thing I tell a client is, well, I need to get in there. I need to get in there and see what's going on right now. And where are the low hanging fruit opportunities? And where are some of the things that just need to be fixed? And some of that might be, out of your hands on a technicality scale. But for the most part, a lot of this stuff can be addressed by, someone within the company or your marketing team. So there's a free tool called Screaming Frog. You're going to download Screaming Frog. You're going to put in your URL at the top of that site, and then you're going to take start, and it's going to do a complete crawl of your site. From there, I export that data and I bring it into Google Sheets because it's just a heck of a lot easier to work for than that interface. The tool's great for pulling the data, not great for playing with it, manipulating it. So when I pull in the data, it kind of looks like this. It's just a lot. As you can see, there's a lot of columns, and this is all very important information. Don't get overwhelmed because a lot of it's not going to matter to you. So when I first get the data in, I'm going to go through it and I'm going to try to organize a little bit. So one of the quick and easy things to do is I like to freeze my top row. And then I also like to freeze my first column just because then when I'm scrolling, I can always see what I'm looking at. And then another quick trick, we want to add a filter to this top row here. And then before I show my client, I always name this web page because I think that just is more human and makes sense. And it's just easier for people to understand. Shoot, I stretched that page out too far. Okay. So yeah, the first thing we need to look at, do all these pages have titles? Okay, so this is one of his competitors, and you can see here, they don't even have a title. So many of these pages don't even have titles, and I'm smiling because this is gonna be so easy for him. It's gonna be so easy for me to go in there and help him with his content. So that's great. That makes me happy. I'm gonna jump over to this spreadsheet, which is this is the other site, but I already started cleaning this data a little bit. I went through and organize the content type to only show me pages that have actual content on them. In that last tab, I was looking at code files, I was looking at image files. We don't need to look at all that. So by adding a filter here and just unclicking all of this, and I just select text, now these are the actual pages that can even rank. There's some other things that jumped out to me that I'm going to talk to this client about. Like these pages are showing as non-indexable. There's a no index file. So at some point, there was a do not crawl placed on this page, which shows me an experienced web developer. Could be wrong, but usually web developer wants all their pages crawled. They don't want the search bots to not crawl a page. I digress. Remember titles. There's so many opportunities where it's missing. Title length is important. You don't want it to be over 65 characters. That's a Google preference, and it's not going to hurt your site or your content. But when the search engines are showing the listing of your site or your article title, it's going to cut off at 65. So you're just not going to see it. Huge red flag right here. There's so many pages with missing meta descriptions. Any pages that have 400 or less words, that's considered poor quality content, and most likely the bots aren't even going to crawl those pages. So I'm not going to sit and go through every page to see the value of it, but just from scanning, it looks kind of like these are his service pages. We want the bots on those pages. That's where his money's at. That's where he sells, what he does. That's another really, really important column to pay attention to. And then lastly, I want to get into crawl depth. Crawl depth is the amount of pages a bot has to go through to get to this piece of content. And anything less than 3 is no bueno. We don't want that. And then the other kind of things that are important for SEO, depending on how difficult and how deep you want to go down this rabbit hole, unique internal links. So this is when you have written a piece of content and you're like, you know what, this reminds me of that piece of content I wrote. 3 weeks back. I'm going to link to it. So you can find opportunities within your new content to link to your old content and vice versa. And that the bots really like to see, because then they're seeing that, wow, a lot of this stuff is really crawlable. And you can see here, his content is interlinked fairly well. So this is the client I'm actually bidding, and I'm kind of going through each competitor site and his own site, and like just highlighting in red where some of my red flags are and some of my quick fixes are. So when we sit down and talk, hopefully this is easy information for him to digest, and hopefully it's been great and helpful for you too. If anything that you've taken away from this or any questions you have, I'd love to hear your feedback. Please shoot me an email and let me know what you think.